Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me. I am Joy, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome all the new subscribers to this community. It's my sincere hope that you are met with information that elevates and inspires you as you continue to journey towards your prepared places. Welcome back to the returning subscribers. I appreciate you all so very much, family. Today I wanted to talk to you about sexual assault. That's one part of narcissistic abuse we may not talk about as much as we should. The narcissist is in fact a predator, and there is no limit to what narcissists do. They truly believe that they are gods and that they have a right over their victims. They believe that they get to tell you when, where, and how. One of the most important things that we have or we can say as a person is who we give our bodies to. It's part of the free will that we get. And one of the most shattering experiences is when your ability to say yes is taken from you. And what's even worse than that is when it's your very first experience. It marks every other sexual encounter that will follow with thoughts of violence, brutality, and it taints it. And it takes so much to overcome the devastation that we experience as survivors of sexual assault, especially as survivors of childhood sexual assault. I'm here today using my voice to stand up as a survivor of childhood sexual assault so that I can help somebody else overcome this type of narcissistic abuse. Shattered innocence. I want to share some statistics with you before I go any further in what I want to share with you or talk with you about today. And I just want to share these facts with you. One thing about sexual violence is it is always committed, well, not always, but mostly committed by someone you know. Oftentimes these crimes are underreported because it's done by someone you know. Most sexual assaults take place in the victim's home. Women are not the only victims to experience this crime. Should a woman end up pregnant as a result of the assault, the rapist can sue for custody. 1 in 4 girls are sexually assaulted by age 18. 1 in 6 boys are sexually assaulted by age 18. That's quite a lot to take in, considering how many people truly exist. And when you think about your group of 5 girlfriends and think about 1 in 4 of them has been a victim of sexual assault. And because we don't always talk about this, or the fact that it's underreported, you may even find that it's 2 out of those 5 who have experienced this type of pain, who have experienced this type of devastation, even when it comes to boys, men. And I believe it would be harder for them to talk about it because they're taught to be macho. They're taught not to speak on these things. And, they're barely allowed to cry, or express their emotions. And so what more when talking about stuff like this? They say hurt people. And I don't believe that at all. We've been hurt. We've been violated. But at no point in time did we become our violators. At no point in time did we become or do anything to hurt other people. I didn't. I chose to use my pain to help somebody else. No, hurt people do not hurt people. Evil people do this. For many years, I lived in the shadow. For many years, I felt like I couldn't truly be, because I was so ashamed of my past. I felt like if anybody truly knew what had happened to me, I would be blamed for it. And this is the crazy thing, is that this happened to me as a child. And here I am carrying on the weight and thinking that it was my responsibility to protect the predator. And even for those women that it happens to in relationships, even when it happens within marriages, I've been there before, when you tell him, no, stop, I don't want to do this. And, they don't want to stop. And they just carry on, and your voice just gets muffled out, and, it just becomes. But here's the thing. We end up blaming ourselves and living in the shadow because we feel guilty because of this. And I'm here to tell you that we're not doing this anymore. We're not the guilty party here. And I want to talk to you today about something that Tanya and I are working on. I'm sure you all do know Tanya, but in case you don't, Tanya has a channel, Just Say No to Narcs. And we are working together. We have been working on some different coaching programs, which we will be starting our sign up today. And one of them includes a program called Tamar's Corner. And Tamar's Corner is dedicated to the survivors of sexual assault. This is for those of you who, like me, who, like Tanya, were searching for somebody to help us understand what we went through, so that we could begin to process the pain of what it was like to experience sexual assault at the hands of a narcissist. And this is our space. This is our community. This is our private place where we can process our feelings, where you are able to fully express everything that happened with no judgment. And it doesn't matter whether you are male or female, gay or straight, whether you're from the LGBTQ community, whatever. It doesn't matter. We are all God's children, and we all deserve to live with peace within ourselves. The goal at the end of the day is that we all experience healing. And we want to cover areas such as forgiving ourselves. For myself, it was so easy to forgive the predator. It just was one of those things that was just so easy for me to do. I struggled to forgive myself. I believed that there were certain things that I should have done, I could have done to protect myself. But again, how does the child assume that responsibility? Even as a wife, they say things like, oh, well, you can't deny your husband. Well, I'm allowed to say no. And that's just a fact. You're allowed to say no. And just because somebody is your spouse, just because you're in an intimate relationship with somebody, it does not mean that you have to give it up all the time. You are allowed to say no. No is a complete sentence, and your no should be respected. And so this is our space. Tamar's Corner is where we go to process our experiences, to process our feelings. So we're going to touch on forgiveness. We are going to touch on accepting our experience and to begin to process what it has done to us. That means let's do the inner work to heal. Let's do the shadow work. Let's learn who we have become because of that experience. That's what Tanya and I would love to help you process on your journey. And, for myself, if I can be completely transparent with you, it was because of this experience and the low self-esteem that I developed as a result. There are so many things that, as victims of sexual assault, there's so many behaviors that we adapt that become coping mechanisms that are all toxic and serve us no good. but they're all for our survival because, because of a traumatic event, we develop these responses. If you've been where I've been, then you know what I'm talking about. But it's time for us to drop those dead weights. I want to help you drop those dead weights. I'm here to help you drop those dead weights. You don't have to carry them anymore. It's so much easier to go through life without carrying the shame, without carrying guilt, without carrying the hurt and the pain and feeling the responsibility for what happened to you. You are not defined by that moment. You are not defined by those moments. And it's my sincere hope that you do join us in Tamar's Corner so that we can continue to journey together towards your prepared places.